Hey guys, and what do you get when you mix a shark-feeding serial killer with the Buddha of the waves? Well, you get the rules of the ocean. Hey guys, and welcome back to S&A Quickie Review. As always, I'm Lindsay, where we take a new release and we mix it in with a classic to see what sticks. And this time around, we are going for Sean Byrne's Dangerous Animals and mixing it with one of the greatest surfing bank heists movies of all time, Kathryn Bigelow's Point Break. So let's get into it. Yeah, Dangerous Animals is very much a Sean Byrne movie. It stars Hesse Harrison. That is really not an easy name. Hesse Harrison, of course, Jai Courtney, as you remember, as the guy who was forced on you as a movie star from franchises like Die Hard and The Terminator. Please don't ask me which ones, because I can't remember, and I don't want to remember. It also stars Joss Houston, Ella Newton, and Rob Carlton as maybe the best worst boat neighbor you'd ever want if you were a serial killer. Maybe not, as the movie goes. But Jai Courtney plays a shark-feeding serial killer. Kind of surprised that we've never had this in a movie before. He's great in it, and he's not a... Look, I think when he's playing douchebags he gets to have fun with, he has fun. Think Captain Boomerang in Suicide Squad. Because there's not many things you want to think about when it comes to the original Suicide Squad. And Hesse as Zephyr is his prey, or his want-to-be prey, because Zephyr is not a woman who is going to muck around. Look, I really enjoyed this movie. I like Sean Byrne as a director. I love The Loved Ones, and I also really like his Hard Candy. Both are really great, solid horror movies. And to form, Dangerous Animals is a really solid horror movie. It's set on the Gold Coast, which is in Queensland, Australia. It is kind of the resort town where you have massive skyscrapers overlooking beautiful beaches. You have the wealthiest of the wealthiest, and you have but it also very transient community. These are people, young kids going on their gap year, traveling around Australia, people who just want to go up and surf, people who want to get away from it all. It's got a very distinct personality. And this is a movie that showcases the Gold Coast very, very well. And it's typical to Sean Byrne. It's disgusting. You can almost smell this movie. There are moments in it where you're wincing because things are happening to certain body parts and you are not happy about it. Yes, there was a point where I had to turn away a couple of times, mainly because I'm actually terrified of sharks. And I had forgotten this until I went and saw it and went, oh wait, there's sharks. Yeah, I don't like sharks. And there's a lot of sharks in this movie. But to be fair, this is not quite like the Jaws sentiment. Though I will say the way Jai Courtney plays Tucker, the serial killer, is if you imagine Quint, but instead of wanting to help Cooper and Brody hunt down Jaws, he actually wants to dip them in the water so Jaws can eat them. And Quint can watch while talking about the dark eyes, the devil's eyes, the doll's eyes. Actually, I might be mixing that with Halloween. They both do dark eyes references when they're talking about the ultimate killer. Jaws and Michael Myers are actually really similar when you think about it. No, seriously, think about it. They're really similar. Moving on. This is not a movie that is showing the shark as the ultimate killing machine, because that's what Tucker thinks he is. This is a movie that is showing these as animals. As Tucker mentions, you train up animals to expect a certain thing when you keep putting chum in the water. And when we're swimming with them, because that's what he's posing as, when swimming with the shark's boat, though you look at that boat and you're like, why would you go on that thing? But then you realize it's the Gold Coast and you're like, yeah, sure, why not? I mean, it wants to look shiny, but you can't take the bogan out of the Gold Coast. I might cut that. I haven't been there in 20 years. I have no idea. But back to the movie. As he says, accidents will happen. So these are animals. These are animals that evolved to do certain things. And as the movie does mention, which is actually a true fact, sharks don't actually like the taste of humans. Most of the time, an accident is mistaken identity. They think you're a seal, which is much tastier to them. We apparently taste disgusting. I would actually have no idea about that. But this movie is about prey. But this is why I wanted to pair Dangerous Animals with Point Break. Well, one, I think that Sean Byrne is very conscious of Point Break, and it was an influence for him. And second, I think Tucker thinks he's Bodhi. Like, he keeps spouting the sea philosophy. But unlike Patrick Swayze, Jai Courtney does not look like Patrick Swayze. He is not the prettiest man to ever exist in 1991. This is not a man that can seduce you into his philosophy, even though he thinks he is. He thinks he's putting on a show. He thinks he's talking about following the rules of the sea, even though he is not a shark. He is a human being, and human beings have very different rules. In fact, this movie allows Tucker to be a human being. He is worried. He is worried he's going to get caught. I think it's a running joke that the boat is out in the ocean, but is very close to the shore. They are not that far away from society. Tucker is constantly worried about getting caught. Tucker is violent. Tucker is messy. Tucker is a bottom feeder, as Zephyr clocks him on at one point. Point Break and this movie do have something else in common, where the spoken word is the subtext. There is no subtext in either movies. They all speak it. And I don't think this is necessarily always a bad thing. Sometimes it has its place, sometimes it doesn't. And through that, you see this very... which I think you do at this prevalent Americana, which I think you see in Loved Ones as well. Say with Lola, who is kidnapping boys to be her ultimate prom date, which is a problem, something we do not have in Australia. We'll have a formal, but they are not like what the movie version of the American prom is. Something that Lola is trying to replicate, though she is nailing boys' feet to the floor and drilling holes in their head. Look, watch the Loved Ones. It's amazing. I mean, if a shark was run over by a Ford, it might be the greatest movie of all time, but Dangerous Animals doesn't have that, so it's not. But Loved Ones does. Well, not a shark, but, well, go watch it. It's awesome. That made no sense. But there is this pervasive Americanism, as I was talking about. The music they are listening to is very American heavy. There is this idea that Tucker has of who he is and how he fits in and how he's spouting all these ideas, which feels very Bodhi from Point Break. Point Break is even clocked in this movie. Yes, Zephyr is a surfer, and this is how she keeps herself isolated, because she is part of this nomadic community that is going through Australia, and she has found her places for surfing. And she is also American. That is more kind of the funding, how to get things funded in Australia, but I think there is an underlining thing to Sean's movies sometimes when he's trying to replicate these American isms and turns them Australian. Which, of course, Tucker is. He is very much like Ivan Milat, who goes after tourists in Australia because no one knows where they are, because it's such a big country. But this movie is also reminding you that this is Gold Coast. This is a fully fledged city that has a lot of tourists and a lot of other things happening. Yes, this is a movie I had to turn away a few times, as I mentioned before, because the violence is icky. This is a movie you can smell, but I think the performances are great, especially Hissy Harrison and Jai Courtney, who is having a great time. He's kind of letting his receding hairline work for him. He's not the pretty boy. He is this menacing oaf of a human being. And he is Australian as all hell, which for some reason makes it more terrifying. There is a division between land and sea in this movie, much like there is in Point Break. So we might as well just get on to Point Break, which all I really have to say is Point Break's awesome. I mean, it's Point Break. Point Break is one of those movies that just works. Kathryn Bigalow directs the hell out of it. It has so many quotable lines. I am an FBI agent. It's got the two prettiest men to ever exist in 1991. And Keanu Reeves isn't the prettiest. I will always contend he reaches his peak in 94 with Speed. No man has ever been more beautiful than Keanu Reeves in Speed. But no one has ever been more beautiful on film in 1991 with Patrick Swayze as Bodhi. he is this self-weird creation. He is so many contradictions. Mainly because he's a cult leader who is a psychopath, maybe? I don't know. But you would have a good time with him until he made you rob a bank. This movie just works on every single level it needs to. And the performances are really good. As I said, I think Patrick Swayze steals this movie. I think you understand why Keanu is kind of seduced by him. I don't think this Point Break is homoerotic, but I think it is such a movie about the female gaze that is very distracting because Kathryn Bigalow loves a torso, and there are so many tight torsos in this movie. It's insane. This movie is kind of what you want this kind of movie to be, and it's very hard to replicate. This is not a movie where you can just go, oh, I'm going to do Point Break. They tried. And yes, I know. Fast and Furious is a straight rip-off of this movie, and we're still sitting on 10.1, where Vin Diesel's got to try and take a freaking burst, punch a dam, or I don't know what he's going to... Anyway, you watch that movie, you sit at the end, and you're like, wait, what? But this movie just works in the way it needs to. I still think that Zephyr is very much a construction, much like Laura Petty's character Tyler in this. She's strong as now. She's kind of tiny. She's all muscle. She's got big eyes. And yes, I can see Tyler taking out Jai Courtney on a boat. She does not take shit from anyone. Yes, she is the damsel to be saved. We are still working in 1991 movie rules, which this movie is about the prey taking on the predator. Or what he thinks is a predator. He's not. And kind of like Bodhi, because I love how this movie allows Bodhi to turn. Or you will see the real Bodhi, that he is willing to do what he does. He is willing to set a man on fire, which he threatens. He kidnaps Tyler. He forces Johnny Utah. I mean, that name. How do you not love this movie? I mean, Johnny Utah, for God's sake. He essentially kidnaps him as well to go and to make him a criminal in the ex-presidents. And I love the way that when he's going through the bags and handing out all the masks, and he shakes the bag and just looks at him and shakes his head. It's such a great detail of the flippancy and the control and the planning that this guy kind of has all at the same time. It's like the first big skydiving moment where you're not sure if they're playing chicken with the parachutes or not. And it's this beautiful scene of them coming together. I mean, the skydiving photography in this is incredible. But this movie's trying to do a very similar thing. Well, I should say Dangerous Animals is doing a very similar thing to what Point Break is doing, is saying there is ocean rules and there is land rules. Which one do you want to go in? And of course, in Dangerous Animals, both leading characters are living by the rule of the sea. They're transient. They don't make connections very easily or afraid to make connections, more on Zephyr. But this movie's asking a very similar question. Do you live by the sea rules or do you live by the land rules? And that distinction between criminal and cop is actually really, really smart. The sea makes its own rules. Land kind of creates them. But of course, the more you get into Bodhi's character, you realize he's full of crap. And he doesn't really necessarily believe anything he's saying. He just wants to he's an adrenaline junkie. He just wants to get to that next moment, do the next thing, feel the next high. And bank robbing is all about that. It's like when he finally goes for the safe. It's such a big moment because it's been established so many times that they never go for the safe. They're in and out in 90 seconds. But of course, now he's messed with the FBI and now he has to get a big payday. I also love how Keanu Reeves never wins a fight. Like the scene when they're taking out I think it's only one Anthony Kiedis, like one Red Hot Chili Pepper. I always like to think that they're all in the house. That raid that goes horribly wrong and Keanu's there getting beaten up by a naked woman, a very strong, beautiful naked woman, and then almost gets killed by a lawnmower. I mean, this movie's got such intentionality behind every single moment it is making. And it's kind of realizing its own ridiculousness, but it is about a character trying to find purpose. Especially because the fact he was a football star. He was Johnny Utah. Now he's not. And it is such this Americana that I think Dangerous Animals is dipping into. Of the love of the ocean. I mean, how this movie ends is not Keanu beating Bodhi. It is Bodhi getting killed by the wave. At Bell Beach in Victoria, no less. And they go to Torquay. I saw them. That is Torquay. Like, it's... Well, maybe not Torquay. It's in that area. Like, but... It's... Look, everything comes back to an Australian beach. I don't know what to tell you. No, this movie is great, and I love it. I think all the performances rule. Even something like Gary Busey is using all his Buseyisms, and he's fantastic. Look, for those meatball sandwiches, I would totally miss a gang of people wearing president's masks running into a bank as well. Those sandwiches look good. Kathryn Bigalow is a really great director in that respect, in her intentionality. The way she sets up scenes, the way she can kind of convey action. I think those have always been her strengths. And I think with Sean Byrne, I think it's taking those references and making you squirm with them. The Loved Ones is very much a movie that is riffing on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's set out very in a rural town on purpose. And you feel that griminess that Texas had, but the violence is just so much worse and much more blatant. And I think this is what he's doing with this one. It's like, okay, so what if Bodhi was just a serial killer? And spouting all this kind of philosophy that really doesn't make any sense. It's Jack Courtney, not Patrick Swayze. And Patrick Swayze, even though he is talking nonsense for a lot of it, kind of wheels you in because he's that charismatic. It really works that Jay Courtney isn't that charismatic. He kind of is, because you can't stop looking at him. There's a moment where he's dancing in his underwear and it's like red briefs and it's like popping and you're just like, yeah, this guy's having a really good time. But at the same time, he's kind of repulsive. Also, the fact that this is set in Gold Coast, so everyone's wearing just board shorts. Like, that's my memory of Gold Coast mainly. Just everyone wears broad shorts. It's a very tropical place. It's a really interesting horror movie. And if you like horror movies and you like shark movies, it's going to give you all of that. And it is going to keep you on the edge of your toes. There's a physicality to Hesse's performance, which I really love. Kind of like no. I wonder if we could show to a Point Break and go be Laurie Petty, because they do have a very similar physicality to them. As I said, they're all muscle. And they're both hot and they're both wiry. Though I will say Hesse, just as an actor, is a little softer. So you do generally want her to survive. She's just all blonde hair, big eyes, kind of looks like Jennifer Lawrence. And will kick ass. And the way she moves in this movie, you can feel how every movement is painful. She is in a lot of pain when she's doing a lot of things that she has to do, but it's out of sheer survival. And even though I think the character definitely thinks that this is replicating what the wild nature is, it's not. It's humanity. And I think the movie's very centered on that. Very much like in Point Break. And, this was mostly an excuse to watch Point Break again because it's Point Break. Point Break rules. But no, go see Dangerous Animals. I think it's very much worth it. I like Byrne as a director. I think he's really smart. And we will be back with another Quickie Review. All right, thanks, guys. Bye.